Hi everyone, it's Robyn from Water Moon Tarot, and I'm coming to you guys today to continue on our Astrology 101 series, the basics. And today we're going to talk about aspects. And it's really important to understand aspects, because once we understand aspects, we really are well on our way to becoming astrologers and understanding our own personal birth charts and birth charts of other people, and understanding how our birth charts and other people's birth charts relate to each other. So this is really where we start understanding how astrology is used to gain insight into ourselves and our relationships. So this is a super exciting video, and it's really important that you guys watch the ones before, because it really is a layering process, because you need the basic understanding of, the 12 signs and the modalities and the elements, before coming to the aspects, because it really is like a building. They're like building blocks upon each other. Of course, astrology, like I've said in my previous videos, really is like a layering of knowledge. So okay, so we're going to discuss the aspects today, and there's 5 major aspects, and aspects are how the signs relate to each other. So it's really important. It's a really important part of understanding astrology, and there's 5 major aspects in astrology, and those are the trine, the sextile, the opposition, the conjunction, and the square. So we're going to start first with the trine, and the trine is basically the signs that are all of the same element. So in the previous video, we learned that there's 4 elements in astrology: earth, air, fire, and water. So we need to understand that, and we need to understand the different signs that fall into each category in order to understand trine, because basically all of the water signs are trine to each other, and all of the earth signs are trine to each other, and the air signs and the fire signs are all trine to each other. And when we mean trine, we mean that we're all of the same element. So there's a very easy flow of energy there, because we are so similar, and we have that same basic those same basic qualities to our personality. So all of the water signs are very similar to each other. They're all of the same element, and so on and so on. So we can use that aspect in understanding our own personal birth charts. For example, my sun and my moon are both in water. I'm a sun sign Scorpio, and my moon is in Pisces. So my sun and moon are trine to each other. So when we talk about trine, sun and moon, that means that both my sun, my ego, my outward, my values, my core belief systems, this and that, and my moon, my emotional nature, are trine, both in the same element. So there's definitely an easy flow of energy there. So there's not this push and pull of energy where it would make it difficult for me. Let's say I'm just using me as an example, because my sun and my moon are trine, where my inner self and my outer self are in the same element. It flows so easily. So there's not that push and pull of my ego being this and my inside being something very different. It flows easily. And we can also use the aspect in relation to other people. So let's say, I'm a Scorpio and my friend is a Cancer. Well, her sun and my sun are trine. So my friend who's a Cancer, and I'm a Scorpio, we have trine suns, and there's a very easy flow of energy there. We understand each other so easily. We're both water signs, and we're both, sensitive, and we're both, so that's the trine energy. So we can use it within our own birth chart, and we can use it within two birth charts to kind of see and analyze two separate people. Okay, so that's how we start to use the aspects in understanding ourselves and, you know, our relationships. So we're going to move on, and we're going to talk about the sextile. So sextile means that there are feminine signs, there are masculine signs, and the feminine signs are the water and the earth signs, and the masculine signs are the fire and the air signs. So feminine, water and earth; masculine, fire and air. And so those two elements, those two groups of elements, are sextile to each other, and that means that they're not similar, because they're still different. You know, water and earth, they're different, and fire and air, they're still different, but they're complementary. They're complementary energies. So when we think about water and earth, when it comes together, you know, it forms mud. It merges easily. And when we think about air and fire, of course, it merges extremely easily. You need one another. You need one another, right? So it's not the same, but complementary. So if I'm going to use myself again. If I'm a Scorpio, then I am sextile to any of the earth signs. So if you're a Capricorn and I'm a Scorpio, our suns are sextile, and that way we get along quite well, because you know, I'm a water sign, so I'm kind of, you know, like floaty and sensitive, and you know, maybe not that, you know, practical, but Capricorn is extremely practical and, you know, down to earth and grounded. So in that way we complement each other, because I'll have a more, you know, free-spirited kind of, you know, intuitive type of feel that I'll lend to, you know, the otherwise very practical, you know, down to earth Capricorn, and the Capricorn will lend its more, you know, grounded energy to me, who needs a bit more, you know, grounding, more stability, let's say. Okay, so that's how sextile works, and it works the same way with the fire and the air signs. You know, the fire signs are like the doers; they like to put things in action, and the air signs are like the idea makers. So, you know, the air signs is really great. They have the idea, they're able to communicate it, and then the fire signs come in and they like do it, you know, whereas the air signs aren't really doers. They're more, you know, talkers. They're more idea people. They're the thinkers. The fire signs are the doers. So in that way, they're different, but again, very complementary. So that's sextile. So you can look within your chart if you have any sextile planets, you know, feminine and feminine, or masculine and masculine, and you can understand how those energies flow now. Okay, so we're going to move on to the opposition. So there's 12 signs in the zodiac, obviously, and each one of the signs has an opposite sign. And the opposite sign, if you look at the wheel, is literally the sign that's directly across from you. Directly across. And that means your birthdays are 6 months apart. So basically, it's the mirror image of yourself. All the things that I have, my opposite sign lacks, and vice versa. So that energy is quite interesting, because we are so different, yet somehow there's a real interesting energy there, because it's kind of like the yin and the yang, you know, it's the two halves to make the whole. But again, it's a very different, yet it's the two halves that make the whole. So when we talk about opposition within one's own chart, it could be a bit more difficult, because they really are opposite. So let's say, you know, to take an example, my sun and my moon, if they were opposite, I'm a Scorpio, so let's say my moon was in Taurus, that's my opposite sign, we're 6 months apart. That would be difficult, because that's a difficult energy for a sun and a moon, because my sun is my ego and my moon is my inner self, you know, my emotional nature. And for them to be opposite, you know, the two halves, there's going to be you know, who I am on the outside and who I am on the inside are very difficult. However, if you think about it relationally, you know, if I was to meet somebody who was my opposite sign and start a relationship with them, well, all of the things I'm not good at, they are. And all of the things that they're not good at, I am. So that in that way, it can work at times. And there's an interesting energy there with the opposition, though there can be difficulties, of course, because it still is opposite. So that's the opposition. Every sign has its opposite sign. There is, you know, Pisces and Virgo, there's Scorpio and Taurus, there's Leo and Aquarius, there's Libra and Aries, there's Sagittarius and Gemini, there's Capricorn and Cancer. Have I missed any? Nope, those are all the opposite signs. So, so those are people that will very often be coming into your life for different reasons, but now we're starting to get into, you know, karmic astrology and things like that. But, so, you know, the energy is still difficult, but interesting, because it is your opposite sign. So that's the opposition. So if you see that within your chart, it's important to look at, you know, where it is and what planets it's in, and understand how different and difficult that energy can be. And also within two different charts, you know, depending on where it is or how many oppositions there are, because, you know, there's so many different planets and different, you know, signs that could be in the different planets, that there could be a lot of opposition there. Sometimes, you know, too much opposition is too much, and sometimes it's right in the right place just to, you know, shake things up and make things interesting. So so that's the opposition. And then we'll talk about conjunction. And conjunction is very simple. Conjunction means in the same sign. So if I'm a Libra and you're a Libra, we're both born, you know, at the end of October, at the middle of October, we're both Libras and our suns are in conjunction, so we're both Libras. Or if my sun is in Libra and my moon is also in Libra, my sun and moon are conjunct. So that means in the same sign. So, of course, that's an easy flow of energy, but it's not, let's say, it's not complementary in the way that, you know, a sextile would be. So there's not different energies kind of working together. It's the same energy. So it does keep things very even keeled, and it enhances the effect, because if, let's say, you know, I'm a Libra and my moon is also in Libra, well, that's a lot of Libra influence. So I will be a very, very strong in Libra, you know, characteristics. And But if we're both a Libra, we'll for sure get along really well because we're basically in the same element, unless of course the other placements are in different, signs that aren't complementary, that aren't, so conjunction, it basically means in the same sign. So a lot of the times we use it in astrology to see the aspects between two charts. Let's say my moon is in Pisces and you're born in the beginning of March, so you are a Pisces, so our sun and our moons are conjunct in the same sign, and that's amazing. That's a really amazing, flow of energy, because who you are and how I feel inside are in the same sign. So there's really an easy flow of energy there, that there's such an understanding of each other. So that's how astrologers will use, the comparison and conjunction there. And also, you can look at the love planets. We're starting to get into birth chart interpretation, but, the love planets, and if they're in conjunction, that's also a really good thing a lot of the time. So basically conjunction means in the same sign. And the final aspect is the square, and the square is the hardest energy, because the square is basically the signs that have the most difficult energies. Now we're going to start understanding how the modalities come into play. So basically, the fixed, mutable, and cardinal signs all have two signs that are square to them. So the fixed signs, think about it this way. I'm a Scorpio, I'm a fixed sign. You're a Leo, you're a fixed sign. I'm fixed water, you're fixed fire. It's like butting heads. We're both stubborn. I'm water, you're fire, stubborn, and it's just butting heads. And all of the modalities will have that square, those two signs that are square to each other. So you need to understand the different modalities, the mutables, the cardinals, and the fixed signs. And within that, there's the square signs to each other, and that energy is so different. It has a very hard time getting along. So again, we can use it within our personal placements. If you have a lot of squares in your, personal birth chart, it's going to be difficult because they're going against each other. They're butting heads. It's strong energies that are not complementary. They're not the same. They're not similar. They're different, and they're coming at each other with the same modality. So it really, really is a difficult flow of energy, and that goes for when you're comparing two charts together. So I hope that this makes sense. I hope we have a better understanding now of the major aspects. So if anybody has any questions or comments or wants to share, follow, or any of the rest of it, I would love that. I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to check out my YouTube page. Is doing super well. I'm getting so many views. It's really exciting. It's of course Water Moon Tarot on YouTube. I'm also Water Moon Tarot on Instagram. Contact me for any personal readings. Some of my most recent personal readings, I have new reviews up. They've all been super fantastic. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you soon. Okay, I love you guys. Bye.